Okay.
You posted in our Discord?
Not yet. I don't have a link. I don't know where to get it from.
Oh.
I know you sent it earlier, but I'm
check your DMs.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. It's up. All right. It's actually functioning. So a couple people already joined. Nice. People just ready, chomping at the bits. Yeah. No.
Let's go.
Just posting this in a couple places. Yeah. This is definitely better than the football game, which I could not get at first. And then I finally got it. And I was like, oh my God, this is an embarrassing product that people will actually watch. We'll start by, I really expected more people to react to how amazingly perfect my thumbnail was. I think people were just like, I get the joke, but also like, shut up, but it was just fine. But I'm just really proud of this thumbnail.
Yeah.
It's the thing is it's only going to get so much worse. It's actually smart on everyone else's end not to overreact to it, because if everyone else gave me more fuel to this fire, oh boy, oh man, it would have been relentless. I would have quit my job. Yeah, so we're gonna do a draft. That sounds like it could be useful. The biggest mistake in Best Buck that can murder your lineups and starve your family is, I'm going to give it away right off the cuff. If you're not here early, you're going to miss it. It's taking anybody that isn't named McDavid number one. Matt.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good.
I actually had an idea. So I had another idea, but I decided that I'm going to save it because this one was just like stupid. I have an idea that I think is really, really, really good. So next time, get ready because the thumbnail is going to be egregious, and I really want everyone to be ready for that. I'm wearing some Charging Buffalo stuff today. This shirt is unreal. I don't know if they're going to sell them, but I am planning on like getting back to some Charging Buffalo stuff. People really, really liked my short live videos I did for like the first 2 months of not the last year, but the year before. They were just like pick'ems stuff every day. I would just do some pickup stuff. But the Charging Buffalo got away from it because they were worried about, like, basically, as someone that had access to this going into Sabres games, they worried about the gambling implications, which I was like, I don't know what was really going on there. But we're going to get back to it. It's kind of gone by the wayside. Is my connection bad?
No. Well, I mean, I can hear you just fine.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm not a very good guest because I have no idea.
You said this look on your face.
I was trying to fix my.
I'm talking
camera.
about.
It's like,
yeah.
No. My camera's like falling to the side, so I was trying to like reorient, and it's just not working. So whatever, you get this view. There's the locker room.
It was. I honestly think it was the first, like the first pick'ems on Underdog for hockey, and I was doing like every day that the Sabres played, I give one Sabres play plus 2 more.
I remember that.
And people loved it. But then, they were like 2 minutes. We're gonna get back to stuff like that. So, Charging Buffalo for all your Sabres stuff. We're like, actually, people know us. Are we just gonna get right into a draft, or is there anything else you wanted to talk about off the top?
I mean, I think we can. My only thing was, I mean, we have like a list that we sort of source for people asking questions, talking players, so on and so forth. I don't know how much leeway there is in the draft to do that. Do you want to just tackle it afterward? Like we do a draft and then we tackle all the comments and stuff afterward, as far as like what we don't cover, basically?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a list. Yeah,
right.
So we have a list of player takes. Is that what you mean? You're just like, we're going to do the players.
Yeah. Like, like the players, and there were like questions, like that you.
Oh, like they're in there. They're in there.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we get started. So if you're not in the draft waiting room, you need 10 to fill. Good start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't.
Yeah. So everyone start entering. All right. People are. No, yeah, we have time. Wow, that's actually hilarious that it was. So actually, I guess we'll have a little more time to get started. I'm filling a lobby now. Did you post it in MSP?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Anyway,
okay.
I feel like one. Did you tweet this? That we're live.
I tweeted out the YouTube link.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Like right now. I
live
mean,
now drafting on. Yeah,
I just
I'm just
didn't
sketch
get
baiting
I
him.
just didn't get tagged. So
Oh, I did
yeah.
tag
Oh
you.
my god, dude, this is unbelievable. I do not understand. It's literally like it's like a fadeaway camera. I just whatever.
I don't notice any problem at all.
Yeah, it's like
Okay, yeah, we're already at the
slowly
6
going
minute.
this way. It's like losing me.
Oh,
Um, so
I thought you were
whatever.
doing that, so I don't know. All right, whatever.
No,
I'm
no,
gonna turn the
no,
guide
it's
me
just
thing on again. I just
spinning.
wanna I just want to see if the guide me thing actually like
Oh,
does anything.
just please turn on dark mode.
I'm
Jesus
sharing my
Christ.
stuff. Oh, I don't know why it's not on. I guess.
Ooh,
Oh, did it
sure.
go? No, I guess it wasn't on to begin with. Huh, weird. Have I not turned it on with the new laptop? I feel like that's something I would have done,
What
but whatever.
the? Oh, did you grab your hockey exposures?
That's what I
Because
was trying
nothing
to do
showed
right
up.
now, really
Okay,
quickly.
yeah.
I think it'll work now, but I'm not sure. So yeah, the Brick Draft Caddy for anyone that doesn't, like I said, I use it all the time. Let's see if this is even updated. This has 16 teams. Should have 18 teams. 18 complete plus the 29 I still have going. There it goes. So for people trying to view this, Forsberg, Tippett, Raymond, Burns, Caulfield, Konechny, Shabbat, and yeah, so Bennington, Simpsonov are kind of like, yeah, this is a bit of the pool. So if I could grab exposure. Yep, exposures have been grabbed.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing
while you do that, let's set the stage because I feel like we didn't talk about anything that we tweeted about. That I mean, I'm guessing people saw this via Twitter. But today is Thursday. We are going to be talking Underdog Best Puck Classic once a week between now and the start of the NHL regular season. Hopefully, this contest is full like before then, but in reality, this is a pretty big contest. So my guess is it goes up to the wire. But going forward, you should be expecting us on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock Eastern. Obviously, this week getting started on a Thursday. But going forward, you can find us live on this YouTube channel on Tuesdays. And we will be recording the audio so that we can post it on the Morningscape Pod feed. Reminder, if you're somehow this is your first time seeing us in a bit, the old feed is no more. You will see a post from me on that old feed explaining a bit. But basically, we had to move to a new feed. So just make sure you check out the new Morningscape podcast feed on your podcast host of choice. There are many more options than there were previously. That's why we did the whole burn it down and rebuild sort of structure with our pod feed. So make sure you do that and you won't miss anything. But again, this is a weekly show that will be on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock going forward. So, set a little calendar reminder if this is something that interests you. I don't think there's much competition in this space. So if you like hockey and you like Underdog, I think this is where you're coming. So happy to have you guys. And thank you to everyone who's showing up and hanging out for a bit.
yes, certainly not any competition in the space, and it brings me to something. I'm not going to get into any crazy details, but it just really is an enjoyable time for. I feel like people that are more passive on the NFL, like me, and I actually, I would say you're more passive than me, probably even about like actually what's going on in the NFL.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like me and not you, but like actually you're more. Yeah, it's pretty. But anyways, though, just because like the overreactions to stuff are just out of this world. And the takes that you see online just blow me away every single day. And I think what it like really is a testament to is like it's showing up, but I get people that are like asking me very, very like high level questions about hockey, and it is just so unbelievably unnecessary to like go into like the nth degree like we do with football. I mean, it is an innocent maybe, because like I think if you're into something and you think that there's an edge, like it's fine to go after it, and it's fine to maybe talk yourself into like the week 17 situation. And I talked about it a lot with the Badge Bros about like, yeah, like there's something to maybe
DJ, did you see the draft?
Friends and family.
Word.
Yeah, I had to stop because it's just the badge for it. This is literally. I think I know. No, I know every single person in this draft. That's amazing. And we're
Oh
like,
yeah, obviously. But wait, we are the 11-12. Like absolutely no time to think about picks or anything. I mean, I guess we have a lot of time
no, I'm
between
just gonna
picks to
say.
talk. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I will say that I think this year the 11, like I think no, I'm gonna. I think as time goes on, every year, like the top 4 picks will matter a little bit less. Like the first year, it mattered so much because I think everyone was so new that like I don't know, whatever. But I think over time we'll get better and better at how to draft successfully. And even if you're drafting between 9 and 12, you'll still be just as good against the field. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
a lot of
This is actually funny, but
I
okay,
want to see a
what are you gonna
draft
say
of all
now?
the stuff you wouldn't do. I was just reading that comment. I was just gonna say that
Well,
what was I gonna say? I don't know. What were you saying? What were you saying before that comment popped up?
oh, I was saying that like I think over time, good like
Yes,
being
I
a
got
good
it. I
drafter
remember.
is going to allow you much more wiggle room than the
Yeah.
top 4. Like last year, the top 4 was
So
invaluable. It really and it just
yeah,
worked out even more so than I thought it would. Okay,
it
now back to you.
feels so we don't have last year's data. So all the priors that I'm working off of are based on 2 years ago. And it is worth noting that the final versus 2 years ago is, I mean, monstrous in comparison. Last year there were how many in the final week? 40 something, maybe 50. Is that about right?
660. I think it was
Oh, okay.
66.
Oh,
I think it was in
okay.
the 60s.
And what is it this year? 94, something like that.
I
Yeah,
truly don't know off the top of my
94
head.
person final.
94.
So in year one, it was what, 20 people,
All right, let's see what
something like
happens.
that. Oh, call the pick.
Yeah, it's still doing the
Um,
same thing. Yeah, the caddy
so
still
I
just wants me to take the
yeah,
top 80B.
40,
I'll do
47
it.
last
I'll do
year,
it this
DJ.
time.
Come on, DJ. Step up your game.
Oh, it was 40? Wow. I thought it was 67 or something. Okay,
I mean,
47. So it's doubling. I'll get rid of this
yeah,
comment.
I'm just the best ball thought leader here. All right, I took Kucherov. Kucherov is
Wow.
clearly the best guy on my board. I
Yeah.
don't have a single share of
Where do
Elias
you rank
Batherson,
these?
and I'm gonna change that. I have 18 drafts
Wow.
done,
All right, let's
so
just see. I just want to
um,
see. No, it doesn't change its mind. It won't change its mind. I will change its mind. No, I'm going to change its mind for it with Gage. I have the guide me on. The guide me
yeah,
tool is
that's
on,
not
so I
gonna.
have to turn it off.
Yeah,
I'm going to turn it
that's
off. I wanted to test that. I wanted to test it a couple times because I told
okay.
Brick that it was just automatically picking the top guy, and I think he thought that's probably accurate. And then
Yeah.
it does. I just wanted to do it just like after I made a pick or two. Like, would it continue? It does. So that's going to be annoying for probably everyone because people are going to be like, "Why?" It looks like a
Yes.
ghost is like scrolling through. So if you are new to that situation, which I'm guessing maybe one person in this entire stream might be like, "What the world are you talking about? Why are your exposures on the screen?" Brick Draft Caddy. I already talked to him, and he'll put everything up again for the NHL. I was kind of showing it a little bit here. Last year's rankings and projections. I don't think you can see this exactly, but if I change it, maybe you can. They will funnel in.
Seems like it would
to
be confusing, so don't do that.
Oh crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I meant to not do it, and then I did it anyways. So now it's showing last year's rankings, which probably aren't useless. Like, I don't think we were far off. So
yeah,
I'll keep them on. I'll not the projections.
So yeah, it does seem like the room kind of followed our lead really on Mikhail Makar. The Rantanen team took Makar in the mid second. Obviously, Makar tends to go at least early second, if not in the first round. I think the numbers just bear out that defense is really, really hard to get that sort of separation versus at the center position and the wing position. It's just much easier to find that truly elite ceiling of a season. When you look at some of like the points per game type metrics, underdog point per game, you just see that the centers and wings that have elite seasons are just worth slightly more. And I think that the drop off among defensemen is pretty light. So I'm pretty comfortable being well underweight on Makar and Yossi personally. I think I have one Darlene as well. But the first D-man off my board tends to be either Bouchard, Burns, or John Carlson. That's sort of the range I'm sitting in.
Yeah.
When I draft defensemen, I don't really like to go higher than that.
Again, if you watched the Badge Bros, it was literally like the curious case of John finding that out on the fly of like, wait a minute, this guy is still here, and it's like, yeah, dude, center is deep because there's just so many elite players that are centers. Like you think about just like in the practice of hockey, like your best player is always your center. Almost, I mean, in any world, it just kind of works out that way. So, because you're the best skater getting up and down the ice, like playing defense, playing offense. So, you will find, I think, a lot more value in the late rounds at center. So it does work out that way often. But, my deciding factor, especially because I'm basically forcing in enough wings to make it work, is going to be correlation a lot of times. Like I talk about kind of the pillars, and they're still going to exist for me. Like that second pillar of correlation still matters. So like, if I'm taking my second center a little bit earlier, once in a while, it's to get that premium correlation in there. Darlene got back to me here, I was going to take him. He didn't, but that's fine. Totally understand. Trying to think of anything else. So Bedard was the first player on our list that we had to talk about. I have actually done this start with Bedard and Matthews, except I think I got him I got him really, really late, almost like shockingly late. So I think Connor Bedard will probably have one of the biggest fluctuations in where where he's drafted, just this season in general. I've seen him go, I think, at 11th is the earliest I've seen, which someone I think mentioned was an auto draft, but like they really wanted him anyway, so whatever. I think he'll go as low as maybe 45, 50. And I think that range of outcomes is just objectively correct. So I don't think you're going to find any fault with me taking him, not taking him, or whatever. But I would say that if I am taking him, I am boosting up Taylor Hall and probably Seth Jones, almost definitely Seth Jones, just into a much higher consideration set than if I don't have him.
I worry a little bit about Seth Jones and Kevin Krasinski. It's not like Seth Jones has really done much with the opportunity. I mean, Caleb Jones was running the power play last year at times, so this is another lost year for Chicago. My guess is that if Krasinski is ready, he gets the run. So it's almost like you're taking Seth Jones as not a bet on Seth Jones. I don't love that, so I'll sprinkle him in. But in reality, I think I'll take Connor Bedard. I think I would take Bedard at like the 2-3 turn. But it's tough because when you're at the 2-3 turn, you tend to already have a McDavid, top center. So it's a little awkward. DJ, you take Andre off the board.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of just showing you I was going to do it and letting you sort of continue to talk. But it's correlated. I don't really care if it is or isn't. I mean, Insco's.
I'm not watching your screen.
But So Robertson, Andrew, Tage.
All right, I will grab.
Yeah, I mean, another point here made by Jeff that yes, Lucas Reichel is a guy that's starting to go, and I think that's very fair to take him. It kind of feels like Lucas Reichel could just be a guy that is a winger, and we don't know it yet. I think they're trying him at center, but they kind of needed to. So we'll see what happens there. So Matt, you go boldly point. I'm just going to continue to hoover up as much Philippe Forsberg as possible. I think I'm just going to put him in the queue. I just think he's going to continue to rise. Yeah, I'm just going to do it right now.
So you're sorted. You sort only on ADP, right? You're not making your own rankings or anything. I mean, I think
I have them, but
you didn't move your rankings. You mean
I haven't moved? Oh no. I don't because I don't want. I think that it's because I want to know the correlations that could happen. Like I don't want to miss it. Okay. Sorry.
I've arranged, I think, through my top 50 or so players. Like at Panarin's ADP is like the first one where it starts going in order of ADP, meaning I didn't rank Panarin. I'm not sure how many exactly that is. It might be less than 50. It might be in the it's somewhere around there, somewhere in the 50 range I've ranked. So like I'm pretty much going in that order because I wanted to get the wings up ahead. I just don't think you can feasibly succeed in this format without winning the wing position. And I'm really excited to get my hands on last year's data because I think last year will be slightly more analogous to this year's than 2 years ago. So I don't know, especially with the Kucherov, I'm not getting an early center. Like, yeah, I need to find something at wing. So my plan is to punt defense
Yeah.
and grab some mid-tier goalies and just pray to God that either Batherson or Point has a monster year and that my wings can carry me home.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm setting up.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess the little point I was making while we have 15 picks before I'm up again is that like I don't want to like I like people are just going to like ADP is just a heuristic that's going to exist, and like allowing ADP to be kind of a point of me not missing out on correlated people like in a vacuum, because I have these red numbers here that tell me my exposures, so I don't really have to worry about my rankings too much because they light up in red, and I know. So you're gonna see like these are the guys I'm probably going to take. So I don't know. Like if I'm on my phone, it's also just like I'm setting up my queue on my phone normally a little bit more. I'm not gonna do it on a stream because I don't really want to telegraph too much. So yeah, let's recap our picks and then let's get to a couple more players. I think we did a pretty good job with the first one. This is the goalie run range for sure that we kind of got into. Glad to get out of it with one. I think this is a lot more accurate than last year, but I would honestly say is maybe even a touch low on all of these guys in the entire range of that, turn into the third round.
I'm taking a lot,
but I'm fine with
taking a lot of
second. Yeah.
I'm taking a lot of second round goalies. It falls like the draft really falls off a cliff in my opinion, like in the middle of the second. So like I'm very much happy to take a center and a goalie with my first two picks. Anyway, rankings have actually saved me.
Yeah, is there any reason you didn't? Okay, is there any reason you didn't go with Hellebuck or Georgiev and you went with Boldy or Point? I know we had someone that was a little bit upset here. GA wanted, but probably Boldy was my guess as we wanted. But.
Yeah, Georgiev is fine. I worry still that Hellebuck gets moved, and then there's just a little bit of uncertainty in my opinion that he's not like the bona fide number one in his new home, wherever that is. And I'm very certain that Ottinger, Vasilevsky, Saros, Sorokin, Shesterkin are going to play, 60 to 65 games, assuming good health. I don't think you can say the same thing with Hellebuck. And if he stays in Winnipeg, in my opinion, that's a worse team. So I'm not huge on Hellebuck. Yeah. I'll probably sprinkle him in, but I wanted Boldy. He's really the only wing that I really feel confident in between like the 30 to 50 range. Like once Nylander's off the board, wing is just an absolute nightmare. So I really wanted to get two of them.
Yeah.
And then, I probably spent a little too much on center with Pedersen and Point, but I really think that I really wanted Kucherov stacked with Point or Stamkos. So I just figured that was a good time to do it when my wing targets are off the board.
Yeah, I was hoping to get Tuck back to me. It doesn't happen. Not a big deal. I don't think it's that completely make or break, but what?
Jeff there on Lucas Reichel. I'm a big fan of Lucas Reichel. We will do a bit more in-depth of a review on some of the rookies and breakout candidates. Frankly, I want to get the last year's data first, dig into that, and then dig into some rookie young type player breakout candidates analysis. But I think I would rather the order of operations be figure out roster construction and things like that, and then figure out individual player takes. So I'm sprinkling in Reichel late in drafts, Bedard or no Bedard. But yeah, I definitely agree there. Noah, thank you. We're very hyped that people will be showing up to our streams. Last year we were sporadic and
you're on the clock.
So hot. Yeah. Thank you.
Just so you know, yeah, this is the most we've ever had by far, for sure. Yeah, I take Laine there. I think this is about the right range, honestly. The 5-6 turn is about where you want to take Laine. Like the peak is obviously there. The spike week potential, I definitely like a lot. So you go Marchessault Kreider. I don't know if anyone else saw, but I kind of queued up JT Miller, and then I just thought logically, like Matt is not taking his third center, even if it's correlated. Like he's just no way he's doing that. I really don't have super big. I mean, I've taken a ton of Brent Burns. I could take him again here, but I think I'm just going to wait on defense. And I just think JT Miller is a guy that disappointed some people last year, but like not even really. Like he really wasn't a disappointment in as far as these kind of streets are concerned. So
No,
I think the sky's the limit again for JT Miller. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Vancouver's an interesting one because Pedersen feels like he should be the shot dominator, and he really isn't on their top power play. So it always missed me a little bit when I go to look at their numbers and see that.
Yeah.
But Miller gets his. Obviously,
Yeah,
he's a great point producer as well, but his shot volume I think is slightly underrated.
Yeah, no, and like I thought, like I said, it's like their power play. You can see the structure, you see how it makes sense. And JT Miller's like, I have all the confidence in the world that I am actually Pedersen and Kuzmenko, and he's not, but he shoots anyways, and he gets a lot of shots, and he gets a lot of, it's like he shouldn't be doing that, but whatever. So, it's easy to kind of normally thread the needle.
He plays a ton of minutes.
A guy to go with him.
He hits. JT Miller does hit. So he's like a playmaker in the mold of, I don't even know. I don't know. Thornton was big, but I feel like he used to hit people before he got old. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, more or less.
In any case.
Let's get back to, let me just go back to my sheet here, because the next in order would have been Erik Karlsson, who went a while ago here. So where's the board? Is it hiding on me? Can you not pull? Why am I stupid? Where's the? Oh, there. He goes. Yeah. So, the first 5 defensemen I think are kind of on their own pedestal. Cale Makar, the clear number 1. Yossi, I think, is the clear number 2. You could maybe make an argument about Dahlin if you want to get to your peaks and valleys situation, but I think he's a bit behind. And then I do think this is kind of the next 2. So Erik Karlsson going in this draft as defenseman number 5. You're the one that mentioned Erik Karlsson, so I was wondering what you wanted to bring up about him.
Yeah, I was going to bring up that I think Erik Karlsson's being drafted too high. I think you're.
Yeah,
I think you're absolutely buying the ceiling on him. Which obviously you have to after the year he had last year. Like it's not like you could possibly buy him anywhere else. But it does feel to me that there's a little bit too much credit being given to his raw point production and maybe not quite enough attention paid to the fact that he really wasn't blocking shots or picking up hits in the way that he used to in Ottawa. He was like good for the league lead in blocks like on a yearly basis, at least close. He wasn't, the league leader. And you're betting on a much worse team because no Timo. I think that's a significant downgrade for his outlook. So yeah, I think you're banking on him getting traded to Pittsburgh and banking on him taking Letang's job in order to pay off that ADP. I love Erik Karlsson. Like, do not get me wrong. I would be playing him in DFS with freaking Kevin LeBanc and Anthony Duclair and Tomas Hertl and Logan Couture and all these idiots. I just don't know that in a season-long contest where now that you're paying this much for Erik Karlsson, I feel much more confident in a John Carlson or who else? I mean, I think Hedman is of a similar mold to Karlsson, but Brent Burns I feel much more comfortable with. So yeah, and obviously Evan Bouchard, who he's my highest owned defenseman at like 50-something% in my 18 drafts. So
yeah, but I was taking him a lot at first because I think his ADP was a bit lower. I don't really know actually. Let's go back to my first. I think I took him in the first draft on the site. So let me just take a quick peek. What his ADP started at? I'm nearly positive. No, I did not. Okay, I'm gonna go to the second draft, but I'm almost on the clock, right? Yeah, I'm almost back on the clock, so I might need to focus for a second. I got at 31, and now so I actually really bought high on him. I don't really know. I think his ADP was even higher. So hold on, let me refocus for a second here. I got a 2-3-0-1 going. Goalies are starting to get thinner. Really everything's starting to get to where it's going. Let's see here. Wow, same build behind me. Yeah, I do think that this is actually going to be just like Pete streams with wide receivers. When you join one of our lobbies, you're going to be getting a winger-dominated situation. So I obviously take a ton of Batherson and a ton of Konechny. So I think here is my plan. If it'll let me queue them, I guess it will. I'm not taking Quinn Hughes still, just not really interested. So yeah, I'll grab Konechny, and I'll get to my fourth winger.
Yeah, I was hoping
This is
Demko
interesting
or
for you.
Samsonov would be around, and they're not.
Yeah,
So,
they normally are,
that's tough.
but people are. I mean, this is where they should be going. This is. I mean, I don't think they went too early. I mean, they got way above ADP, but yeah, these three are really probably correct where they go here.
Right.
And anyone that's asked me in my DMs, people are like, what's one thing you'd want to say about, and I'm like, goalies are going way too late, like just surprisingly too late. Someone also mentioned don't bump Cooley in your rookie analysis, and we will get to that, right? You have that for today?
I honestly,
That's ready to go?
I haven't, I have not looked at rookie stats really for Logan Cooley, because I was not expecting him to be in the NHL till this week. So I don't know what I mean, I know he was great as a freshman. I don't know what his like shot rate was and everything like that. The one thing with Cooley that does concern me is that Barrett Hayton really showed out last year. And
bad.
if Cooley shows up and he's centering Jason Zucker and Matthias Michelli, like, yeah, that's probably a good line, but like it's nowhere near fantasy draftable. So I think you are sort of betting on Cooley immediately ascending into the number one center spot with Keller and probably Schmaltz. And I don't know. I really like Barrett Hayton. I'm right now not going to be taking either, mostly because I'm not getting any Keller. Like Keller goes too early for me. Yeah. So I don't really see the need to stack. If I want to take a piece late, it's not going to be a center. It's going to be a D-man like Sean Dursey, because mostly I'm done with center. So, all right, here's
we got a few more questions. But
all right, the who are we taking as last goal?
This is on the list.
Let's not do that until after. Yeah.
That is on the list. That is on the list. It's on the list.
Yes.
Yeah. So the next. So first off, one player we skipped was Adam Fox, that we've missed here. Let me just kind of get us caught up, and then we'll get to the next question. Adam Fox. Do you think correctly identified in this draft? Where was he? 65 almost.
Yeah, he went way after.
Yeah.
I just think Jacob.
I don't know. Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, it's funny. Like, tell me why Brent Burns isn't going. Isn't going too high? Yeah, he isn't. Like, it's like Burns or Adam Fox. Like, I almost think you could make a debate on that, but like I still lean Burns. I think, and that's why it's kind of funny. It's like I think Burns, both of them, maybe a tad higher. Adam Fox isn't useless, but like being touted as defenseman number 2 blew my mind. Yeah, probably right in this late 50s range is Adam Fox. But anything else on Fox? Or Burns?
Fox was D22 last year, and Burns was D16 last year.
Yeah.
Like both of those guys, technically, like when using their full stats, are going a bit high based on like their production from last year. I do wonder how much of it was Burns like just not being quite as comfortable being the Brent Burns that we knew and loved from San Jose, like right off the hop. Because I think if you cut the season down to like first half, second half, I think he picked his like rates up. But I do need to dig into that a little more, because I was a bit surprised to see Brent Burns wasn't really a fantasy monster last year. It's been a while. It's been a long off season and whatnot, but so right now, the main thing that I was seeing in our Discord about Burns was a Tony DeAngelo like FUD. I don't think Tony DeAngelo cuts into Brent Burns' role whatsoever, so that's not a concern. But the real concern of like, is Burns going to shoot as much? Like that does kind of seem like a concern, which doesn't make sense because it's the Carolina freaking Hurricanes. Like they chuck pucks from everywhere. But a D16 last year doesn't really lie.
It is.
All right. There's so many
Is he okay? Yeah, we are getting way behind. So let me just get back to the original question that I kind of skipped from Carl here. It was, maybe it's too general, but we got to take a PP1 forward on a bad offensive team or a guy who wouldn't likely. Okay, so I mean, so it's like I think the perfect example is like buying on Ottawa with the ambiguity of that. It's almost like buying in on a bit of an ambiguous backfield versus a handcuff type of situation, where I don't think either are wrong. And I think it's almost thinking too deeply about this contest to like actually have like a strong stance either way. I think you just make the correlation and the shot taking. So like, I would rather take a high rate shot guy on a team that I know he can kind of have that load and that window's open for him, whether he's power play 1 or 2. and hope that he gets on power play 1 than lock in a guy that is clearly net front, that is clearly a distributor on the power play 1. So I don't think about it where like the team as much as the player.
Yeah, I think your internet kind of died there, but to me, I'm very rarely taking guys who aren't. Yeah, it's except for the wing position, I'm very rarely taking guys who aren't a top 4 player on their team anyway. So like they would be on the first power play. There are only a few teams where I'll take like secondary wingers that are going to be power play 2 almost certainly. And it's because I know that they will correlate with a very high powered center. And that's really about it. So I would side 100% with the power play 1 on a bad offensive team. But yeah, that it mostly has to do with positions too. Because like at center, I'm not doing that. At wing, I'll make some exceptions. All right.
I think it's more the archetype of the player myself. So nodding along to taking value. Well, you got to watch more hockey. Football sucks. The Canadian suspension thing. I just can't. Like, I can't like let that factor into my drafting right now when it literally, like, we know absolutely nothing about Batherson, and that's like there's no way to know. It's not like we, I don't know. It's really hard to say, but I'm not. I mean, I'm drafting him right now, so I guess I'm not concerned. But
I got burned by this last year, thinking that Batherson wouldn't be a top power play, like that the Brinket would take his job. Without the Brinket there, Batherson feels like he should be pretty much the same player as last year. I do think you have to bake in some possibility he misses the first month of the season or something like that. We just don't know what the scope of these suspensions could be like. If the NHL wants to basically put their foot down and say, like, look, we've had enough of getting dumped on for our inability to police our, basically to fix hockey culture. We could definitely see an example made of these guys because apparently there's some pretty high profile names. It was a pretty serious, allegation and substantiated one. I'm not really taking much of Drake Batherson, but that's more me doubling down on just the idea that I'm not sure that I feel overly comfortable getting a ton of Ottawa exposure at their just existing prices. And that I think there's a lot of chefs to feed there. If Josh Norris plays a full season, I could totally see him getting on the power play 1. I think there's a lot of ways for Batherson to go wrong individually, and he doesn't really have that attractive an ADP, even though I'm desperate for wing options. I just think there's sort of similar options right around him that I just prefer a bit more. So,
I think that's fair. I mean, I'm just sort of buying the peak. It's kind of like the exact thing we're just talking about, where it's like, I think he is a great shooter.
Wait, show Scott my team. Show Scott my team. Show Scott my team. I got Elias Patterson, Quinn Hughes, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, so Matt already has ejected from the contest. Good for him. Love to see it. You're building quite a weird team. You're building a very not Matt Moody team here. I don't know if I respect it.
I really do want Quinn Hughes. It's really tough for me to sort of like I think Quinn Hughes has a very I think he could have the next 90-point season that comes out of nowhere for defensemen. Vancouver is so incredibly condensed that like I really do want exposure to this team. It's annoying. It really. I saw the other day that there was a rumored Myers for a LeBanc deal. Basically, just like, here's your crap, like give us yours. And if that happened, like I'm pretty sure I would just be all in on the Canucks this year to make the playoffs. Everything else. So I just think Quinn Hughes is a really freaking good player. I needed some upside at defense, just given the way I set up my team, and so I felt like he sort of had that like truly point per game type elite upside, and it correlated with my stand and taking Pettersson a few spots ahead of EDP at the turn. So that's
honestly. It's funny that Drew came up. I think it is honestly just like it's almost comical how many Ottawa Senators players get drafted comparatively to like their projection in the standings, where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 forwards, which none of them say center, make it 6 with the center, and then 2 defensemen. I've seen all 3 get drafted. You also have Kubalik here, who normally goes undrafted, but this is a guy that, while probably not quite completely draftable, especially on this team, is a guy that produced last year at a pretty high volume. And even like Shane Pinto, who is probably a second power play guy. 20 goal scorer here. Seems like an embarrassment of riches, a team that has a lot, but like What? Yeah, you go.
I really don't think you can take either of those guys in this format. There are
No,
very
no, no, no,
similar
no, no,
players to
no.
them that
But
have much better paths to be truly power
yeah,
play one guys.
yeah,
That's sort of
exactly.
my
Yeah.
yeah. So
No, for sure, for sure. I very much agree. I'm not that's not my argument isn't that. My argument is that like there's a lot of firepower on this team, and like how many of those guys that pull back up again, how many of these guys can have pay off their ADP? And again, I think pay off their ADP is a little bit disingenuous. It's more of like, be enough of a factor to help you get to the playoffs. And it's, if you're building good, strong, constructed teams, it doesn't matter anyways. So, okay, first off, Binnington goes. So, Matt, me and you can cry. That was definitely going to be the guy that I took, but I will go to Ville Husso because I think is it Bernier's their backup now? Or Reimer. It's Reimer. I think Reimer's dust ball. I took Pietrangelo, so I definitely wasn't taking your Shea Theodore. Don't you worry. I know he's your golden boy, so we're kind of getting down to some of our favorite players right now.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I just couldn't do it.
I guess.
I'll
wait another round on goalie, and I'll grab Brock Besser. I don't like love Besser, but I do think that Besser, Kuzmenko, Beauvillier are the three Vancouver wings that I'm considering, and I do think Beauvillier has a decent chance of popping off. He got the Bo Horvat role immediately when he was traded there. Doesn't mean it sticks year to year, but he was relatively productive. I just think there's a lot to like with Beauvillier in particular. So I thought about pushing it and trying to get my stack later, but looking at the wing position, it's already a disaster, and I need a couple more still. So that's
okay,
why I took
quick through. 3 comments. Number 1, Mike, I mean, you're literally describing the pillars of drafting right now. Yeah, like definitely ADP value, market inefficiencies. And, if you ever listen to, what's it called? Why am I blanking? Swolecast. It's kind of, it's kind of like a mixture though, of like, you can take your guys still, especially at this current landscape. But, if you take your guys way too early, then other people are going to take your guys much later, and you could just, so I think working off ADP definitely is still good, and taking advantage of market inefficiencies and then correlating, it's just kind of like secondary. Next, the Vancouver exposure. Yeah, I think it is. Some of these guys are going really early. I think most of them going a bit earlier than I want, except for JT Miller. Myself, I think that Batherson is fine, but just, again, I think a little bit early. And that's why, like you said, your first take of him. And then this is a question that we did not cover. And it's something that we probably should. So apologies if it was covered, but handcuffing goalie, no. 60-40. Like I talked about this a lot last year when we did our streams that no one watched, but I'm much more interested in taking a guy that I think is going to get more than that 60-40 split, and just praying that the peak weeks pay off like in at least once or twice, rather than saying like, oh, like the backup on a really good team. And like, I'm never going to handcuff. Like, I'm absolutely not taking the same guy. I'm not rooting or like letting one of my goalies early failing is just probably, like that's really not going to work out. But the point is, I think the peak week for a guy, even like a Vizmelka, is just unbelievably high with how many saves he might make in like 2 wins in a week, that like you only need to pay off once or twice and you're good. Does that make enough sense, Matt? Or is there anything you want to add? I feel like I kind of like jumped around a little bit.
Yeah, it's just an absolute no for me. You're ideally taking goalies to get that sort of like dominant week, and there's just you're betting on too many things to go right for you when you're this goalie is going to be hurt in February, and then this goalie is going to be hurt in March, and you're really hoping for the full net, because guess what? If you're taking a handcuff and they split a 4-game week 2-2. You're not getting anything of value out of that. So handcuffing to me makes no sense in that there's just no reason for it. That's my stance.
Yeah. The next comment is, has it ever? But I think the market being much more efficient is still kind of a low bar comparatively to like football, where it's incredibly efficient. I think it's getting there. Goalies. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Goalies feel like, I think yes, but like Yeah, I mean, I never handcuff in NFL either. Like, I just don't do it. And I think there's like an easier case to be made, maybe, for handcuffing in football than goalies for sure. Like, I think it's like logically, I can maybe get there a little bit easier. But I think we're caught up there. Let's, you know what, we're just gonna have to go back on some of these player takes, player situations.
We can just
I think one
double
that
back.
we're kind of
Let's not waste time now. Like,
okay.
whatever. Just do what you
All
want.
right,
You got
all
it.
right, all right.
You can do it.
No, I was trying to get the one that we're about to be coming up on.
Yeah, right.
Or
Why would I
maybe,
want to give?
we've kind of already missed it.
Nah,
All right,
whatever.
fine. You're right. We'll continue this draft. We'll finish this up. We're gonna be we're 4 rounds away. Okay, so I'm at the 2622. Yeah, I'm gonna grab Elvis. I've taken some Cam Talbot thinking that like maybe they hate Copley, like maybe they like literally like know they can't go forward with him because they tried to get Corpusalo and didn't let him play in the playoffs, and then they go and get Talbot. Like that's kind of my next guy. Now that I'm done with goalie, let's just see if you take a goalie here or not before I say any more. I'll wait for you.
I'm not sure what to do.
Well, I'd draft someone personally.
That's
Swayman.
not. I tried to star Horvat just to get center, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't think
wasn't really
Swayman's
sure what to
like.
do there. I'll take Kadri though.
Okay, I'm back on.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
spot.
there's an outside chance that
Yeah.
Boston trades Olmark to liven up their cap a bit. There's rumors about Scheifele swirling and whatnot, so whatever. I don't feel great. That's obviously a bad take, but all the wings are absolute garbage at this point. So I don't think I missed anything big. That's what I was scrolling for. I'm like, am I missing something at wing? And I don't think I am. So, yikes.
Yeah, we'll recap our teams a little bit. I'm just going to take my potential power play 2 correlation with Batherson and Shabbat. Maybe power play 1. You know, you never really know for sure. Then any injury could change that pretty quickly. But we'll recap teams. So I'll just kind of go over some of these late goalies right now because I think it is a lot of teams are going to fall into the situation where they're going to have to kind of dumpster dive. For starters, I think that I'm fine with Gorchakov, but I'm not. That's not a guy I've taken yet. I've taken.
Yeah, Carolina's too smart. Carolina's never going to let a goalie run the net for a week. Like it's just not happening in the regular season. So like I don't think I'll take any of Anderson, Ranta, or Kochetkov. There's a real chance. I've been reading beat reporters like all week. There's a real chance that they go to a 3 goalie setup and they basically say like, Ranta, you're not dressing on Friday night. You're flying to Saturday's opponent and sleeping there. And you're going to, and you're starting Saturday. So like they might literally carry 3 goalies all year. It seems like they're very comfortable with that. And given they re-signed both Anderson and Ranta, that makes perfect sense. That's their outlook. So yeah, that worries me a bit. I would not feel great about any Carolina goalie personally, but I get the Anderson.
Let's I'm just going to run through some of the really, really bad teams. Kakkonen and Blackwood. I guess it's Kakkonen, but like any thoughts on the Sharks taking one of them?
No, honestly, I very rarely let my goaltending situation get to where it looked today, where like I'm sitting with Jari, Kemper, and then like obviously drafted Swayman, but I'm usually wrapping up. Like usually Kemper's my last goalie. I just don't think you can afford to wait on goalies. It's just really tough for me to see a path where one of those like Sharks, one, you have to get the right Sharks guy, and 2, they need to be the guy that you need to have. And I just feel like trading, a worse wing, it's just so much more certainty in getting that goalie in the mid, in the 9, 10, 11 rounds. There's such a better chance of those guys being the guys you need in net than there are these 14th, 15th, 16th round goalies. And I don't think there's any difference in the wings. Like I genuinely am, fairly confident that someone like Lafreniere or, who the hell else, Bjorkstrand or Duclair or whatever the hell you want to say, is just going to finish better than, someone like Jamie Benn or Zuccarello or Raquel or Hagel. Like there's just such little distinction in my mind that I'm really trying to finish goalie early, and that's sort of where I wind up. But anyway, gun to head, Kakinen, but
I will just give
great about
yeah. There you go, perfect. That was the longest way of saying I'm never drafting one of them, but if I had to, the only other option I think is a fan favorite from last year. I can't, go back to Jake Allen or going with Montembeault. Like, also, I probably just go Montembeault. I think, but I think Montembeault, Kakinen, Mrazek. Like, I'm just going to bet on one of these guys, just like getting hot for a couple weeks and carrying. But that's really it.
If it's far more clear in training camp that like one of these goalies has won the job or whatever, oh, this is going to be our guy this year. Like, yeah, you might be able to project and get 48, 50 starts. Then I'm comfortable taking, any goalie that has that confirmation. But at this point in the season where we don't know, like we truly don't know any of these situations or even some injury situations to still sort out in that, that like, it's just so, beyond me to think about taking those guys. So, all right, let's see. So I'm done at every position except for wing. I mean, I generally do not take, 4 guys from the same team, but I actually think Beauvillier's a really good option here.
He's fine. I thought about it, but
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I'm just burning one of Besser or Beauvillier in my opinion, but that's okay. And then, I mean, this is an absolute disaster zone. I'm going to take shots on Tanner Janot this year.
Wow, I was not expecting it, but it's
with
funny.
With Killorn out the door, I genuinely feel like there's actually a path for him to play in the top 6 in Tampa. They didn't trade all those assets for nothing. Clearly, last year was just an abysmal down year for him. And people were drafting him actually early last year. Not early, but in the mid to late rounds. Versus he's not getting drafted really at all this year. And I feel like the outlook is pretty similar, if not better, because he's now on a better team. So, and the Killorn loss, that really opens things up. So I'm taking shots on it. I'll probably not wind up with more than 5 shares or so if I max enter this thing, but I like it with my point Kucherov team just to see what happens. All right.
We got a question on Marchenko here, and I think I'm just not going to do it myself.
He's just not going to. He's not going to do enough else. Is the problem? It's not that he's not going to have a role.
No.
It's that even if he does have the role, he's only good for goals, which obviously they're the most important thing. But it's just so hard to get that level of goal scoring that you need to make up for the fact that he's never going to hit anybody. He's not going to block shots. He barely gets shots on goal. He's more of a finisher than he is a shooter. And he has 7 assists in his NHL career.
21 goals, 4 assists. 5.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more. Also, I think this is actually an interesting point. The handcuffing goalie is kind of like handcuffing quarterback, really, in general. That actually probably is a better game because it's literally 2 running backs could have a peak week in theory. It's very unlikely, but if 2 quarterbacks have a peak week, it's impossible almost. And then am I going to go to waste management? I've not thought about it once, but I'd love to go to the waste management in Arizona. I'd love to go to just a golf tournament in general, but I feel like everyone I've known that's gone to any bigger golf tournament is always it's great for the one hole you're around the guys you're betting on, but then other than that, but maybe waste management's different. Although, this week in golf, we will see if I win some money. Other guys in this range. So the one, while we're kind of at the end of the draft here and we've already finished, Carolina. I want to pull up Carolina just as an example of why I've been taking a bit of bunting here. It's this is a really good team. There's not many chefs in the kitchen, though, it feels like, comparatively to Ottawa. You think about the projection of this team and as we talked about, they will shoot. There's going to be a guy in this mix that is either going undrafted or drafted really, really late, like Nachos and Bunting, and Jarvis goes here. Is it Teravainen? Is it rebound Teravainen? The guy was terrible last year, injuries and whatnot. You go down the list, you're who is the guy? There just doesn't seem to be one. Stephen Nason was power play 1 going undrafted. Also just doesn't feel like there's any chance his role's quite big enough. So is Carolina a team you're going to take a shot on a guy? late in drafts?
Pretty much only bunting. Like I'm not going to take shots
Okay.
with D'Angelo. I mentioned that a bit. People are chattering a bit about him being power play one again. I don't see that happening, so that'll be a training camp thing, if anything. And yeah, Nason just not going there. He's not going to offer enough, like floor wise. I think Bunting will, though. He's been a perfectly capable player in the past, and there's an outside chance that he sort of works his way into that gritty net front guy in their power play one.
I was wondering about Boone Jenner a little bit. I thought he's fine, right? Like he'll be back.
I don't think there's any lingering problems with him. So yeah, that's a guy.
Because I thought, was it BR Puck or whatever? It's super annoying Twitter account that I
BR Open Ice or whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, and they tweeted like the top 6 and it didn't have Boone Jenner, and I was like, wait, what the hell? Like,
who was good?
I feel like I maybe should have taken her.
Russell?
Line, because they said Line, so I would go to Russell. Yes, Russell with Line. I'm like, where the hell are they getting this from? And Fantilli. No, it was Fantilli. Not even Russell.
Well, yeah,
they had him in the wing.
Fantilli I was so confused. Wait, who else would be playing center though? Line is what you said?
Line. They had Line. Yes, I have no idea. They said that Line is willing to play center. I'm like, where are you reading this? I'm like, whatever. Okay, yeah, let's kind of want to go team by team here quickly. Just kind of take a look at these teams. Is that okay? Yep. They're all in here anyway, so it'll be fun for them, fun for us. So yeah, we did get a 5 center team to start. Not what I would have done. Yeah. I just would not have drafted Pavelski, even though the ADP seemed insanely good. Like 4 would have been my limit, and it was McDavid. Just probably not necessary. Really good McDavid stack. You get, I'm also never drafting Blake Wheeler. He will be 0%. I guarantee it. For me, I just don't think they're really carving out much of a role for him. What are you saying?
Yeah. This team is built like a Zamboni team, which this tournament's not the Zamboni. Like you're not getting an outsized reward for your team advancing in the playoffs. So you're just not going to score enough points at wing for this team to make the playoffs. That's truly just what's going to happen here. So that's my pick.
Team 2. Okay, team 2, 4-6-3-3. And they added 2 guys right at the end here in Zegras and Eriksson Ek. Getting a unique correlation, which I think is the exact. No, we had the McDavid and Nugent Hopkins on the last stream. It's fine. It's fine. Could definitely fill in a flex. Gensel, Fiala, Tippett, Hall, Nertushkin, Terry. Getting Terry and Zegras probably a bit unique at this point, although really easy to come by. Bouchard, Dobbs, and Trouba, and then finishing with a really strong top 2 goalies. So, which is why they went Logan Thompson so late, which is another guy we didn't talk about, but I guess makes enough sense. Like if he's healthy, what if Aiden Hill is a flash in the pan? Is that the right term?
What if?
So I think it makes sense to take a shot on a guy like that when you. Exactly, like that's a guy. Like if you have Sorokin and Demko, you might as well take a stab there. I agree with that. So I think it's a pretty strong team overall. I get why he went with Zegras because he wanted that correlation, but wing did kind of get a little bit thin, but that's fine.
Yeah, this I think is more of a personal preference thing, and this is why I'm interested to get the data from this past season because it's just not the same as 2 years ago, obviously. So like for me, the fact that I'm missing the chance to get a wing that could theoretically fill one of the 2 mandatory wing slots is enough for me to not take Zegras there. But like I totally understand why you would do that because it does offer more upside in the playoff weeks. Like, what if Nugent Hopkins is out and all of a sudden you're sitting there going, okay, well I need to fill my flex. Like there's a chance it's Eriksson Ek, who I like him at ADP. And he fell well past ADP in this room because, every other position got hyped up. But Zegras clearly has a ton, he could easily put up 6 points in 3 games and, doesn't matter how many shots or hits or whatever he has, he's going to get there. So, I like that. It's not what I do, but like, I understand why 4-6-3-3 there makes sense. And I love Jake Trouba.
Another 4-6-3-3.
I hate Jake Trouba, but in this format, I mean, my God, like he's gonna pick up points every week, and if you need him, that's great. If you don't, then like you had a pretty good week from someone. So he's like the perfect guy for this format.
Yeah, Ducks, one of two teams with four games in the final week of the final. Oh my God, one of two teams, 4 games in the final week of the finals. And again, remember when you look at that finals, like each week is actually separated. So like there's a 1 week of the finals, those scores will go in, then the second week of the finals, and those scores will be added. So next team, McKinnon start, Aho, took Jarvis. I was talking about that last pick. Heishier, again, a pretty strong Carolina stack with Svechnikov. I wouldn't have taken Patrick Kane because, like I said, I just still think he's just not going to play. Like maybe, but I'm not really buying it myself. McAvoy's an interesting case. It seems like that role could increase with him, and this is about the range we were drafting him last year, even with an injury that was kind of derailed the start of his year. So I have no problem with him. I also think he's fine where he's going. And then, he kind of got boxed out on the last goalie, but like Vizmelka is the guy I would have taken there probably too, just for the upside that exists there. Not a whole lot here. I think it's just a good sound team. I just maybe wouldn't have taken Jarvis, but
Ben, Kane, Druin. I don't know that I'll be taking any of those guys. I feel like Jamie Benn is primed to lose his power play job to a Wyatt Johnston, or even a Logan Stankoven if he makes the league this year. So his role's a bit tenuous. I understand that he's the captain and he's probably not going to lose his ice time, but it does kind of feel like he's on the Blake Wheeler train where like he's just going to be totally ineffective at 5-on-5. So
also,
Kane.
Nick, we don't. There's no hiding.
No.
Yeah.
Just close down the street.
We're going through every game.
All right.
Matthews, Bedard, Balkan, Connor, Tuck, Giroux, Bertuzzi, Zuccarello, Rust, Nino, Hamilton, Seider. I mean, I'm probably not taking any Sanderson. Yeah. I think most Seider's still a touch early for me, but I love Dougie where he goes. 3 goalies. I'm not taking any Fleury. But I think the other 2 are really strong. I think Gustafsson, they just gave him the big contract. Like I worry that he's
Gino
on the outs. But center, you are loaded.
Gino at pick 148 is absolutely obnoxiously good. I'm taking Gino. That's honest. I understand he's old, but man, he's really good. And you can get his stacking mates late, like you did with Brian Rust. But Raquel, Rust, Riley Smith, all those dudes are fantasy relevant. And there's a very good chance that all of those guys are in the top 6. So like, I don't think there's much risk. And then there's the upside of the power play, which obviously only one of them can get.
I think,
but I like that. I like this team. Like I get it, Seider and
I think the one
I do think there's upside there.
Yeah, I think the one change I would have made. I mean, like I said, I think Sanderson's the one guy. I see the case though. Like he did actually get some power play run last year and whatnot. I think the change, in my opinion, that I probably would have made here is why did I totally had it. Mo Seider. I think I would have taken a winger instead in that position. I think you kind of needed it when you went Bedard Matthews. That'll be the change moving forward for me. I think if you just have one more guy in this range, you could have made up another defenseman later. That would have been just fine. Just don't think you had added as much value as you could have there, but that'll be the one change. Just one note. Next, we have a 3-7-3-3. Zibanejad and Eichel are 2 guys I'm pretty fond of at their ADP right now for sure. And I kind of like getting both of them. That's kind of fun to try to make up some ground on center. Tavares slipped really far too. Wow, he got the 92 ADP. He was amazing last year after a down year, which you stacked with Marner. Pasternak took quite a break on wingers there, but I think you came together with some decent upside players. I mean, I'm not drafting a lot of Mark Stone, but as he slips, it's going to be time to get him in there again. Duclair has been one of my favorite late guys. Vrana, I haven't drafted yet, but I get it. Anders Lee, I also haven't drafted yet, but I get it.
Look at Duclair going. Duclair went the pick after Malkin, which is just crazy, but it shows that when we do that sort of thing, there are people in here who understand, they understand the mechanics of the game and, who scores points. That is, I think, totally warranted given the room and whatnot, but just very funny, the distinction. I don't know what your problem is.
That I get every time I wait. What?
No, I don't know what his problem is with this team. It's fine. Maybe a bit light on Corliss.
I have no problem.
I don't know. You got Tavares Minor. It's pretty damn good to me, but
That was the point I was about to make. Was like I'm really looking at Jersey when I draft Keller, and I haven't done it yet, but I think that could actually be strong later on. So I would definitely have queued him up a little bit higher. I think you probably wanted Theodore, and Matt took him from you. So maybe just know if you're in a lobby with Matt, that might happen if you've taken the Eichelstone correlations. You're probably screwed if you don't get him earlier because Matt is on it. I think a guy that I had thought about. ADP. Yeah, so the guy that I haven't drafted yet is Sidney Crosby. I feel like I forgot how good he was last year until recently when I was looking at some of the numbers. Like, guys still got it. So no problem getting him well after ADP. I think, again, waiting on centers is going to continue to pay off. And you ended up getting three, pretty good guys here. I probably wouldn't have gone up and gotten Lindholm at that point, but let's take a look at the rest of the team. The Chuck, Panarin.
Anytime
Huberdeau,
you can build around Jonathan Huberdeau, you just got to do it, Wookie. Kudos to you, bud. Kudos.
Yeah, I'm not taking much of the Huberdeau myself, but I get it. You look at those, the 2 years ago, and you're like, what if he's even close to that? But yeah, you absolutely smashed the Calgary Flame stack. So if they come back to life, boy, are you good. Defense is incredibly strong. Like I love those three. Even if Montour misses some time, you're fine. Like he misses the first month of the year, you're freaking ready to go.
Ryan Hart.
Yep, and Brian Hartman. I know I drafted so much of him last year. He's probably my worst pick. And then goalies, I can't see. I look down here. Yeah. Saros, Vanacek, Gibson, sure. Where are we at? We're at GA now. Let's get to the big, the Wild fan. See, I think Kaprizov to start. So yeah, Stamkos, Scheifele, Nelson. No problem. I mean, I'm not drafting a lot of Brock Nelson, but he's definitely fine at his ADP. Kaprizov, Ovechkin, Ehlers. Wow, that's pretty fun. Those guys love shooting the puck. Toffoli, again, if you're drafting Toffoli, like there's such an easy peak case to make. Like he just is on the first power play. Like it's him and Timo. What?
How in this room did Toffoli fall 9 picks after EDP? What happened?
Yeah, this is a really, really strong 4 wingers. And I said it on the stream, like I'm loving Tom Wilson and Ovechkin together. Like I think in that peak Tom Wilson week, it's probably because Ovechkin and him are on the power play together, which isn't confirmed by any stretch. But I think if you look at this Capitals team, it's sort of like, okay, Ovechkin, John Carlson, maybe Pacioretty's Achilles miraculously recovers. So, okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe, but Tom Wilson kind of makes sense in that mix as well. So
you're going to need multiple injuries for Tom Wilson to be on the power play one. I kind of promise you that. I would take Tanner Jeannot on the season straight up over Tom Wilson. I think Wilson's cooked.
About $25 on who has more fantasy points in this format.
Sure.
Perfect. It's locked. Rest of the draft, no problem. Especially you got John Carlson and Ovi. That is going to be the one. I think that one stack that we're all just like, wow, man, that is going way too low. Should have gone a lot higher. Schmid is actually an interesting case. I could see that, especially when you have Vasilevsky. That's going to be your clear bell cow goalie. Korpisalo, pretty solid. It's like maybe you take a stab at Schmid and Logan Thompson when you have those incredibly high ceiling goalies already. Like if you need the third goalie because you actually need a third goalie to contribute, not these guys. But when you already have Vasilevsky, when you already have Shesterkin, Sorokin, maybe you take a stab on a guy that is a bit more in an ambiguous goaltending situation like Schmid, who could steal
and
the
has
I think that
pedigree.
option definitely exists.
Yeah, prospect pedigree is I think, like Winterstedt pedigree there. There's a chance that there's mega upside versus like a run-of-the-mill backup, which those two guys are not. So, next up,
23 years old. Okay, yeah, we can keep going. We're on. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry,
Rob, yeah.
So he went.
Timo.
Yeah, he got Jack Hughes at 8.
Nice.
Yeah. Wow, all the three stooges, if you will. Norris, good power play, upside play, but took him a little early here. Probably could have waited, especially in this lobby. It seemed like everyone kind of knew to wait on center. Nachos, I think Nachos is just objectively correct here, though. Like I have him a bit higher than some other centers in that range. Like
Mm-hmm.
this guy was shooting last year. He just has to. He has to be a focal point of this offense. They have to get him going at a really high level, and they're just gonna, I think, gonna really put him in the right situation again to be a top performer. So yeah, Timo, DeBrincat, Bratt, Busnevich. I mean, yeah, no problem with any of these guys. I do worry about Pacioretty playing at all this year, but I just have no idea. I haven't taken him yet, but I could see a situation where if he slips to the absolute last pick, I might grab him here or there. We know what he can be if healthy. So no problem with any of those picks. Yeah, Fox, incredibly after ADP. You took Mike Matheson, the guy that won me 10K. Haven't taken him yet, but definitely will be at some points.
Yeah. With
I don't
Cole
think Montreal
Caulfield,
got
makes a lot of
anyone
sense
that's
when you
Yeah. Did he take Cole Caulfield?
because that
Yeah,
could
he did. I
genuinely
took
be
Cole,
the
right?
poor man's that could be the poor man's Ovi Carlson, the Caulfield Matheson. So
Honestly, yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really, I think he makes a ton of sense. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And then Georgiev, Markstrom, Grubauer, it's hard to argue with any of those guys.
Yep.
Like, are there guys I like a little bit more in that range? Maybe, but they all went way too early. Or not way too early. Well, these went way earlier, like your Demkos and whatnot. So next, Novo Sox here in this lobby. He got the Miko Makar stack to start. Really, really cool. Kairu, Kempe, two of my top guys. I'm taking probably 0% Kopitar, but that late, again, I get it at 153, like whatever. Clayton Keller, Gaudreau. There's Cole Caulfield, my boy. But Jared McCann, he's sitting here right behind me, actually. Old Jared McCann. I will be seeing him live for game 2. Home game 2 next year. Jared McCann right there. Terry Lehkonen. Yep. Eberle done. Wow. So you kind of built out a 3-man Seattle stack. probably stop at 3 every time with them myself. I don't know if I'm going 4 or 5. Doughty also just going incredibly late. Like they traded Jersey. Like who is going to be?
I mean,
they go to the Kings defense, and it's like
it's Brent Clark or Doughty, really. And Clark is
the only other guy is
he's supposedly gonna come in, hit the ground running, and who knows what Doughty has left, but it does seem like Doughty's gonna get a lot of rope to be their number 1 still. And just kind of hope that just hope that Clark doesn't get there till next year, basically, because there's no reason to think Brian Clark isn't going to be a stud. But it's one of those situations where Doughty, in a real, probably ends up in the 140s ADP wise, just because he's got a pretty bankable role. But actually, I don't know, because there's a lot of, that's the thing with defense. There's a lot of guys that have very solidified roles versus wingers just get jumbled around so much that it's a bit tougher to have that certainty. So maybe Doughty doesn't move up a ton because guys like Vince Dunn are only a few, couple rounds ahead of him when, coming off the season he had. So,
yeah, exactly.
Goalie's a little weak for me.
He's only moved down.
Gustafson and Levi, I just don't know what the bull case is on those guys playing more than 45 starts this season. That's my main concern. Maybe Gustafson takes over Fleury entirely, but I don't think Levi plays more than half the games in Buffalo, and he's going way too early for my liking. And then obviously Cam Talbot, just a shot in the dark, trying to fill starts. But that's the only thing I would say, that like these 3 goalies, I don't know if there's a bell cow in here, and that worries me a lot.
Okay, that's fair. We're down to one more, right?
One more and then us.
Yeah, one more and then us. So we got the Rupe Hint, Wyatt Johnson, Larkin center. I guess interesting. Yeah, Wyatt Johnson going this late. Wow. Yeah, Brady, Stutzel, Dubois. Oh boy. Whatever. Okay. Tarasenko, Kuzmenko. A lot of. I just would not have taken Connor Brown. I would have taken a center at 183. I'm sure there was just guys like, not with McDavid. I don't really see why I'm taking Connor Brown ever personally. Good sound 3 defensemen. Seth Jones slips a good bit past ADP. We kind of made the bare bull case on him, but 3 guys that could all have peak upside, and then only 2 goalies. Again, maybe you grab a third, but I guess Hellebuck and Binnington are actually really, really, really good. Okay. Yeah, I don't really have an issue with it as much as, like I said, I probably wouldn't have taken the 8th guy.
Yeah.
Like Wyatt Johnson. I think it's fine.
The one So I've considered in these lobbies going with two of the center and goalie positions when I take two studs early. I think I did it once maybe in goal, but in any case, I think there's a case to be made that like that actually could be valuable because guess what, if Hellebuck gets hurt, you're kind of done anyway, unless Sorokin's there picking up the weight or something like that, where you're grabbing two studs and just sort of saying, I don't need the third guy. Let's throw that at wing because we need to fill two of those every week, so on and so on. I've been pounding the table for that all the time. I don't know if that's actually a workable strategy though, because we haven't seen it in action. So it's really tough. I don't do sims or anything like that, so it's tough to figure out like what are the marginal points being added in that situation. But to me, I think the argument is there that an 8-wing setup does make sense. I just don't think I would do it with Binnington, even though I like Binnington a lot. He's my highest on goalie at the moment. I just don't think there's enough of a case to be made that he's a top 5, top 7, 8 goalie in the league this season. Even if he starts, the 8th most games in the league, that like he can carry me through the entire season, which is why, I would get 3 goalies in with him. But, a Igor and Saros or something like that, like I would consider doing that personally. And then if I did that, I would move that extra slot to the wing position. So I don't really have too much of a problem with the execution here. It's just more the specifics on, Binnington. But also maybe I'm salty because I got freaking Swayman instead of Binnington like I had hoped. All right.
Final
Our
two
teams.
teams. I'm not going to go into much detail. Yeah. So
Sucks.
Tage Thompson, I take it back. Okay, Tage Thompson, JT Miller, Bo Horvat. I honestly, I don't know if anyone was noticing me on screen, but the Jenner versus Bo Horvat situation for me, it's like I take the correlation with Jenner, Line, and Werenski, or I take Bo Horvat. It was tough. I think you could easily have made the case I made the wrong pick here, but I was just so enticed by this, former 40 goal scorer, goes to a new team, struggles. Could he get it right next year? Could he get back on track? The role is there. The contract, he's only 28. It's not like he should have fallen off a cliff. This guy had 38 goals last year, largely before he was traded.
Reminder, he didn't get to play with Matt Barzal at all. Barzal played like a game and a half before he got hurt and missed the rest of the season. I really do like Horvat a lot because I like Matt Barzal a lot. It's a little unfortunate that Barzal was center as well. It's not really useful in this format, honestly, because like I don't think Barzal or even Horvat are that great as like your third center. But just thinking about their upside cases, I really do think that come DFS time, like those two guys could be an electric factory, given Barzal's game-breaking ability and Horvat's ability to find soft spots.
Yeah, Barzal not
because I think they'll play together.
I think he's
Anyway,
he's draftable. He should be back. Anyways, though, Robertson, Forsberg, Line, Konechny, Batherson, Raymond, Bunting. Couldn't find a problem with any of those guys, even if you tried. All perfect players, perfect situations, have never made a mistake, other than Batherson. Werenski, Pietrangelo, and Shabbat. Now, Shabbat, I think it's sort of the situation of like, I know Werenski is kind of the leader of the pack there as far as their offensive defensemen go and their first power play. And I think that he's going to have a really good rebound year, a guy we were taking earlier last year. Pietrangelo, again, don't really have any concerns about his role. Shabbat is the one that's kind of boomer bust. I think he went a bit after, he did go 20 after. I think he should probably be in that 45, right in the middle here. It was where he probably should be getting drafted. I do think this is a guy that has all of the skill and all of the upside in the world to be a really, really good fantasy defenseman, and kind of showed a flash before the injury. Last year he played 68 games, 41 points, still not quite enough to kind of be this elite defenseman that I think a lot of Ottawa fans think he can get to after, some really strong early years. So
yeah, he's 26. Like, I don't know what the next step looks like for him. I just
It feels like it's just not going to ever happen. But on the same token, this was a guy going way, way, way earlier last year because of the potential role. And this team, as I talked about it ad nauseum already, has a ton of gifted goal scorers. I think there's peak weeks in him. So I like my defense, and then Ottinger, Merce Lincoln's is sort of your your poor man Binnington, where again I'm kind of betting on the Blue Jackets, so I thought he made sense to bet on with, like, if he can rebound and get back to what his pedigree sort of was. And then Huso, I think with Detroit, it's sort of like if this team is good, I can't imagine a scenario James Reimer's really pitching in and making that happen as much as it's just Huso actually being a good goalie again, which he was fine last year. So I like him in his range a bit more than the rest, other than
Nice,
maybe Binnington, like we talked about.
nice job staying brief on this.
well,
You just talked for 2 minutes about every single one of your draft picks. I just I have it up for other purposes. But let's play Name the Ottawa defenseman who had better points per 60 at 5-on-5 than Thomas Chabot. Jake Sanderson, Eric Brandstrom, Travis Hamonic, Nick Holden. All those guys had better 5-on-5 point per 60 marks than Chabot, as did, of course, Jake Chikrin. Yeah, Jake Chikrin was 7th in the NHL. Chabot was 100, way outside the hundreds. I mean, Chabot just plays empty calorie minutes. I personally don't think he's a very good fantasy defenseman whatsoever, and I think he loses his job to Chikrin this year. But I mean, that's my personal take. I get it. He's gonna play a ton of minutes regardless. Chabot is, so like, yeah, he could get there. He's on a team that should score a lot, so hey, maybe we see it. He's just not my guy.
Yeah, that's exactly. Go over your team.
All right. So yeah, I took I'm not looking at my team. I took Kucherov and Pedersen at the 12-13 turn. It's a tough range. So I like those two guys. My first Pedersen share in my 19th draft. So around that, I got Besser and Beauvillier. I also wanted Quinn Hughes. I talked a bit about the upside case for Pedersen, probably involving Quinn Hughes, and I just want pieces of Quinn Hughes because I think he's really good. So that's sort of the crux of my team. I stacked a Braden Point with Kucherov. I grabbed Tanner Jeannot in the final round. You heard us wager the Jeannot versus Tom Wilson just a bit ago, so that's cool. And in the mid rounds, I grabbed Boldy, Marchessault, Kreider. Of course, had to finish off the Shea Theodore for my let's see, I think that's 70% owned. So what is 70% of 19? I don't know. Basically every draft I get into, if I leave without Shea Theodore, I'm crying. And goalie, I have Jari, Kemper, and then I got auto drafted Swayman, but do as I say, not as I do. I would not take Swayman in many circumstances, but I panicked. I froze, looking for wings. I did not find any, and that's why I ended up with Swayman. So yeah, I'm not great. I don't feel great about this team, but I think it's solid enough. It's a very clear bull case on Vancouver, Tampa, and just see what happens. So, I did want to make the case for why Shea Theodore should be like way, way, way higher drafted than he is currently. So right now, Shea Theodore goes as what? What's his D number? 24. Yeah.
24.
So let's So I'm on Natural Stat Trick over the last 3 seasons at 5-on-5. Michael Stone retired in terms of shots per or I-Corsi per 60. Dougie, Bouchard, Yossi, Chikrin, Theodore. Great. That's top 5 over 3 years. Points per 60 at 5-on-5. Carlson, Makar, Yossi, Theodore. I mean, incredible. Like right there, 4th among that list, better than Taze, Chikrin, Fox, Bouchard, Carlson, Dougie, everyone besides Carlson, Makar, Yossi. Last season, which by the way, I don't have pulled up, that Theodore outscored every defenseman in the playoffs besides Bouchard, who I love. But Shea Theodore, I scrolled down to find Thomas Chabot, was 2nd in the NHL in points per 60 for a defenseman, behind only Erik Karlsson. Better than Josh Morrissey, better than Vince Dunn, better than Cale Makar, better than Dougie Hamilton. Last season alone, I-Corsi per 60 at 5-on-5, he still comes in 11th. And, not quite as high as his 3-year rolling numbers, but this is a top 10 shooter, a top 5 point producer who is getting top power play run. I mean, we saw what full form Vegas looks like. They're really freaking good. They run their offense from their defensemen. I don't get it. Shea Theodore I would take him at 60. I would take him ahead of Evan Bouchard at sometimes, and he just goes 130. It's just kind of like, okay, I'll take that every single day. So that's my flag plant this season. If you guys think you can get him at 110 and beat me to him, guess what? I've already taken him at 105. So Shea Theodore is just, I think, an awesome player. And really, I don't know what numbers you could look at. Like, maybe he doesn't hit as much, but like, I don't know. Like, Cal McCarr doesn't really have those rates either. Like, it's just one of those things where I don't understand. This dude is made for fantasy. He's getting power play run. It's not like he's only a 5-on-5 player. And he's one of the best in the league at his position and is not drafted like it. So there's my soapbox. I just, I've been staring at those stats for like 2 weeks now, just wondering when the time is to absolutely blast off, because I'm reasonably confident that you sharp people are going to go, hey, yeah, maybe he has got a good point, and start taking him in the hundreds. But we'll see. Anyway, what else do we have to cover from your list, DJ?
All right, let's look here. Edmonton stacking, which actually this draft ended up being a really, really good example, because I think, again, the 1 and 2. Why am I scrolling so far? Just get back to the 1 and 2, DJ. Perfect. The 1 and 2 are going to be set up to stack Edmonton because, number one, they're going to be taking Edmonton, probably 1 or 2. Number 1 went McDavid, Hyman, Kane, and Nurse. And number 2 went Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Bouchard. I think that's it.
Yeah.
So it's super easy to do. And this is a point that you kind of wanted to cover. I think I know where you're going to go, but I'm just going to let you go there when you're ready.
I got it last year with Evander Kane. We hadn't seen it. The ADP was right, everything else. But we saw it. And guess what? Hyman, Kane, they're interchangeable. Who cares? Why are they being drafted so early? I don't know. Because their power play, which, by the way, their power play is the reason Connor McDavid is lapping the field. It's not because of his 5-on-5 production. Their power play is going to run through Draisaitl and Bouchard. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is guaranteed that 4th spot. He probably doesn't have another 100-point season, but you're fighting for the scraps of 1 roster spot, and you're giving up serious competition to get these Hymans and the Vander Kanes. Like, I don't get it. So, I mean, that's basically my stance. I like taking shots on freaking Dylan Holloway and Connor Brown far more than I like getting those guys early, just because I don't see a Connor McDavid nuke season as anywhere close to necessitating either of those 2 guys to pop off, and they're just being drafted way too early for my liking. So grab Bouchard 100%, like every time. That's great. And everyone else, besides like just taking punts late, like I think you can taper it off, because honestly, it's going to be the McDavid Draisaitl show, in most outcomes. So I would just taper your expectations for McDavid's wings, because we just don't know who the power play guy is going to be and who's going to be the guy that pops off if McDavid does. And odds are it's no one, because it's going to be Draisaitl. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hyman definitely got there. I mean, Hyman got there last year at ADP for sure. I think him getting there again, getting to that 750 fantasy points.
Guess what? Evander Kane,
a little bit tough.
Evander Kane suffered a freak awful injury. Odds are that.
Yeah, so I know. Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, I guess it's more of like the inverse of JT Miller, where JT Miller was going, I think, even earlier than 34 last year. And even though he was really good, it just didn't feel like he met his expectation, where Hyman just blew his expectation out of the water. So I think people are like rewarding him more and like rewarding that correlation again.
Yeah. I would rather try to win the goalie position with McDavid and take, one of those studs than try to stack him up with, his line mates, because I just don't think that's useful. All right, what's next?
I don't think we need to go too deep on the next one, not too deep. It was just kind of Gaudreau, Line / Columbus in general. Good. I don't think we need to say much. Like, it's pretty, it's good. I like it where it is, everything. I think the only thing is, are you going to be taking looks at like Adam Fantilli with it?
Yeah, I think you should flip the ADPs in a accurate world of Gaudreau and Line. Like, I don't think Gaudreau's gonna put up a 2021 season again, with Fantilli at center or whatever. And no, I don't think I'm taking any centers with them besides Boone Jenner. I want to see it in training
Yeah,
camp
me too. Okay.
first. I don't trust Mike Babcock to not play Boone Jenner a ton. And Boone Jenner's an awesome fantasy
Yep.
player if he gets the minutes. So like,
Oh yeah.
there's really no harm, I think, in waiting on Fantilli specifically, just to see where he's lining up in training camp.
Mm-hmm. All right. So next is Mo Sider. I think that defensive range in general, but
Talked about it.
people were kind of, yeah, we kind of talked about it already. So, okay. Not a whole ton.
He's
like,
just
again,
not,
I do think
he's just not for me. Like, I don't think he has any sort of offensive pop upside in the way that I would want for someone that's going in this range. Because again, I'm really all these spots. I'm like, can I get a goalie? Can I get a goalie? That's really what's going through my head. Because one, I'm wired to try and get a winger, but most of the time you can't get a great winger, so you're making choices between subpar wingers or good defensemen, good goalies. Almost every time when Sider's on the board, there's a better goalie that I like personally a lot better. So yeah, you're showing Stu Skinner. That's great. Like that's the perfect comparison where like I would much rather get a Skinner or Samsonov in that sort of range, ADP wise, a Demko for sure.
Okay. Yeah, we could kind of get away from I have 0% still. It's just again, he hasn't slipped far enough. I mean, I had Philippe Forsberg. I don't think there's a lot to say. He was really, I put him on this list because of where he was going. He's already jumped a ton. I think he's going to continue to rise from where he started, which was like freaking 90 ADP. I mean, I don't think he's Jack Hughes of last year by any stretch, but like, I think he's still incredibly good player who is going to be the entirety of their offense. So he's my highest drafted player right now. Anything you want to add on Forsberg?
I would take him with Yossi. I struggle to see him really his bull case being in the top 15 at wing. But once you take Yossi, you're betting on that offense being respectable. And there's a chance that Brunette really opens things up. So I see it. I like Forsberg the player. I'm not sure that his rates are enough for me to really be bullish the way you are. But I hope it works out for you because it would be fun to see him have a full
where
season.
He was going, but again, I was thinking that's like my third and fourth winger, and it's like okay, because I think the bull case is again, it's almost
his AD is wing 20 right now. So if he was at 90, he would have been like 30. So yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. Wing 20 sounds about right to me. Maybe a tad lower, like 22, 23.
He's getting there. He's absolutely getting. I was trying to go back to a couple of my first drafts, but the next player in general, honestly, I think this could be summed up as the Kings wings. There's three of them with Kempe and Kopitar. Which one of these guys is not in the first power play? Sadly for me, it's probably Arvidsson. So
yeah, definitely.
These two in general. So it's take away Arvidsson. It's these guys on the first power play probably. Anyone going too early, anyone going too late, anyone you're trying to get more exposure to, like just in the vacuum of this power play.
I mean, not really, but late round flyer, Arthur Kaliev. There's a huge role open for him because they have to ship out both Velarde and Iafallo. If Kaliev gets a regular role in the top 9, he could absolutely blast off. I mean, on a per minute basis, let's see if I still have it up. So obviously this is per minute, so it's not like you need the minutes. But on a per minute basis, Arthur Kaliev was the wing 36 last year, and he's like 21. Like he's a lethal scorer. If he gets power play time, even secondary power play time with 15 minutes a night, he could get there. And it's more than likely he plays alongside Pierre-Luc Dubois or Fiala at 5-on-5. I don't think it's likely that Kaliev plays with Kopitar Kempe. So I like getting those. If I take Dubois or Fiala, taking Kaliev sometimes is like the upside piece. I think makes perfect sense. You just kind of hope that Kaliev earns the role, but he's got all the talent. He's got an amazing shot, and he's puts up rates like no other. So very similar.
Also, Forsberg was started at ADP. Yeah, he started at ADP 79, so I was close. 79.
Yeah,
definitely
and that makes sense.
Too low getting. we already talked about Toffoli. We probably already talked about Huberdeau a little bit. Anything
Yeah, we
that
did.
you want to add on Huberdeau or okay?
Sucks.
No. Talked about Theodore for sure. And then we talked about late round goalies. Yep. So there's 2 left. And it's kind of Pittsburgh in general. I think that they're at first when I saw this, I was like, what's the question? But then
okay. Do you have anything? Because I talked about this pretty extensively when we were talking about Malkin and the wings. So
yeah, I don't think there's a ton more to add. Yeah, so you go.
No, I already talked about Smith and Rust and how I like that range and pairing them with Malkin, so on. So I don't want to waste any more time.
I think they're all viable, all make sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, there's 7 guys here, all kind of power play. We know the top 4 guys here are going to be on it. So like Rust, Raquel, and Smith, all kind of fighting for that last spot. But in that sense, I still think you could buy any of them at their ADPs. So yep. And then the last thing was honestly, I think it's just Flyers in general. And I think when this question came up at first, it was maybe a bit more, And now it's like, well, obviously it's connecting and Tippett. And if they get moved, if they don't, it doesn't matter. Both have kind of climbed up to their correct ADP. I think it's still kind of crazy to think about the year Owen Tippett had. Like maybe not getting talked about enough, especially in most fantasy circles, let alone our small niche of degeneracy, where it's starting to get there. Like this guy truly does have, at 24 years old, some unbelievable upside in that position. Only played 77 games, so he had 5 more games in the mix. This kind of feels like where I'm at, which it says, now 50%. This kind of feels like last year's Victor Arvidsson to me, only I think the case for him is even better than Victor Arvidsson's. Like Victor Arvidsson's made sense with everything except we weren't positive on that power play role. We're positive now with Tippett. Like whether it's the first or second in your head, it's the first, and it's going to be the guy they are feeding. So he's climbed a good bit. I think it's, again, I'm still going to be buying on him in this range quite a bit.
Yeah, and I don't think that Cam Atkinson or Sean Couturier are worth the risk. They've just missed so much time, even if they do play, that I don't know that they'll be anywhere close to their like fantasy reliability. So frankly, if I miss on Konechny Tippett, like there's really no point in doing anything else on this team. Like that's more of a DFS thing for me, like the Morgan Frost stuff and whatever else.
Could you even see a world where you take I don't know, Cam York is probably just doesn't shoot enough to even get you even close, but is there anyone?
Yeah, it would have to be on a Tippett or Konechny team. And that's like maybe once or twice in training camp when we know that it's not going to be, Ristolainen or Sanheim running their power play one, which, we trusted Torts with Tippett and he rewarded us. I don't know how many times going back to that will pay off for us. So,
Ronnie Adder.
That's about it.
Come on.
It's just not like
Ronnie Adder power play one. No, it's not. It's
not happening. Yeah.
I think that's probably a good spot to stop then. We're hitting the hour 37-minute mark here. Any more questions that want to trickle in right now? I think most people are starting to get on with their evenings and go to bed and stop being degenerates. Starting next Tuesday, every Tuesday, we'll not always do a draft unless we'll kind of crowdsource a bit and we'll see what everyone wants and we'll do what we're going to do. Data, sure. This week's coming to an end. So So I'm hoping next week at the latest. I was told a couple of days ago, like it's coming. We're on the way. It's going to be here. Told that August 1st. I don't know who's cooking it up, but they are. It's going to be chef's kiss. It's going to be perfect. It's going to be perfect. Yeah. Someone's got to click enter on a keyboard, but whatever. They'll get to us. They don't care. They're launching new NFL contests today and whatnot. So fill rate's been unbelievable. I really, really, really happy early on with how this has gone. Already up to over 11%. No, it's the rake. We're already up to 11%. That's the fill.
Oh boy.
But no, I really am pretty proud of this early surge. And I feel like it's only going to continue to get stronger the more we build this community out. If you have friends that love fantasy hockey, think it's really, really easy to convince them. Just, tell them that it exists and maybe they'll give it a try, because fantasy hockey in a season-long format is hell on earth. I don't know how people do it more than one league at a time without wanting to die. And I never actually set my lineup, so join.
Yeah, that is true.
Anything else from you?
No, that's all I have. Next week, maybe we can go through some of our exposures of the more finely toothed combs, showing who we have. But let's get out of here for now.
Okay. I'm just going to look at my pick'ems, but I should do that later. Brick Draft Caddy, all the rankings, exposures, etc. I think it's really, really useful. You have to look at NFL exposures, but I think it's really helpful for all your drafting. I definitely would do it. Oh, this is actually a good question. How do you spread out your 150 drafts from now until the season opener? I'm going to be just under the 50 mark, like I mentioned, with my slow drafts, which I honestly, I talked to Matt about this off air. Like, I would really, really suggest, if you don't absolutely hate slow drafts, getting a mix of them in, because I think when people have more time to think through each selection, they're correlating more. So I'm going to get, a good 50 to 80 slow drafts in, just so I get a bit better correlation between those rosters. It's not a perfect science and it's not guaranteed, but I've noticed a very strong trend of people taking their time and finding that going above ADP, grabbing that correlated piece, and I'm coming out with some really, really unique, I think, teams. While it's not the Zamboni, it still can matter quite a bit. So especially for those Ottawas and those Torontos, et cetera, where I think it's really pretty strong to do. So I'm going to do 50, probably I'll be at 50 mark with slow drafts by the end of the weekend. And then I'm going to slowly putter along for a few weeks and try to get to about 100 by training camp start, which should be at the beginning of September, and rattle off the last 50 during training camp. Once we get more news, information, notes, we kind of know where teams are starting to decide on players and where they're going to be, which, again, in NFL, I think it's much more of a factor. In hockey, only a couple injuries will trickle in, not nearly as many as with football. But on top of that, like, we're not going to learn an immense amount in the top 10 rounds. We'll learn a lot about kind of the end of drafts where we might want to start to fixate on some certain players, like Kuzmenko last year, which we knew could happen. And when it was happening, it was like, you got now on this guy. So I think we might find one or two more of those, and we'll point them out. And we'll actually prospect stuff probably next stream. We'll do more of.
Yeah, I'm not rushing prospect stuff, so probably
that's okay
later this month, but we'll see. We'll see when I get around to it.
All right, as Scott just said, let's get another fast draft going. I'll join you, Scott. Yeah. I'll see you there. Matt, any last things before we go?
No. Well, I guess follow us at Moinscape Pod. I'm at Fake Moods and at the Agenda Submission 94 there. New podcast feed. If you're not subscribed to the Moinscape Pod, please find us. It's all over our Twitters. So that should not be hard to find. It is a new feed if you're an old subscriber. Talked about that a dozen times already. So just note that. It's a new feed, so find us, and same logo, same everything, same content schedule for the upcoming year. Just resubscribe, and you can find us Tuesday and every Tuesday following that at 9:00. Thank you all for listening.